Hi you guys, it's Grace, and this weekend was pretty amazing. I had my Jumpstart training for my ADEPT internship. ADEPT stands for Assistance Dog Education Program and Training, and it is run through PAWPADS, which stands for Positive Perspectives Assistance Dogs. We learned a lot, we went over a lot of material, we got to meet the dogs. It was just a really fun weekend. This is something I'm super passionate about. I love training dogs, obviously. I also really enjoy advocating for those with disabilities. The end goal for our dogs in the program is to place them with someone who could benefit from having them. Our dogs are trained for diabetic alert and physical assistance. Depends on what they are more apt to respond to. So if they enjoy diabetic alert, then we're gonna try to place them as a diabetic alert dog. If they are better for physical assistance, that's where we're going to try to place them. If they end up not being great for either of those, we find some other placement for them. So we have quite a few school resource dogs that we've placed. So they're still helping people, but they may not have been the greatest for a service dog for someone. They want to do what's best for the dog. It's very important for us to build their confidence and help them think for themselves. It's very important for service dogs to be able to make decisions for themselves. For example, if you have your dog in a sit-stay and the handler has some sort of situation where they need the dog to help them, but the dog's in a sit-stay, the dog needs to be able to make that decision for themselves and go help their handler even though they were told to do this. So we got a tour of the training center. Their house is attached to the training center, and then they have a classroom down the hill, and they have some chickens and miniature horses, and then the dog runs and all that, which we got to tour. We got to do introductions with the other students, learn a little bit about them. We discovered this weekend that I'm the youngest student to be a part of ADEPT. I was the only sophomore in the program. And then the other kind of funny thing is that there are 6 new students coming in, and out of the 6 of us, 3 are named Grace. So that was pretty funny. They were teaching us just general things about service dogs, about public access rights, the laws that protect us as trainers, and then also the dog's handlers when they're placed. Talking about animal behavior, just everything kind of grouped together over those 3 days. And thankfully for me, a lot of it I already knew because I've either researched or I've experienced it for myself, or all sorts of stuff. This is our binder that we got. So we met the teens, we call them the teens. There's the group of dogs who've been in the program for a semester or 2 semesters depending on the dog. The teens, who are the new dogs coming into ADEPT this year. So they're 8 months old, there's 4 of them. Their names are Danny, Darby, the 2 girls, Charlie and Chester, the 2 boys. They all have very different personalities. I don't know who my partner for this year is going to be. It could be one of the dogs that has been in the program already. I might have one of the 4 new dogs. We did a little bit of group training, which is really fun, but we had all 6 of the teens and puppies together, and then they were just kind of like bouncing back and forth between all of us. We got these doggy bags. Notebook where we're supposed to track our public outings and anything that might be helpful for their training in here. We have a cleanup kit, napkin, there's a spray bottle in here filled with Nature's Miracle stain and odor removal, and then there's some poop bags in here as well. These dogs are still puppies, they're still in training, so accidents happen. And then we have a food bowl / water bowl. You can use it for both. So I am familiar with these bowls. I ordered some for my own dogs. We have a little Nylabone if we need something to keep them occupied. We have a flashlight, I'm assuming for walking in the dark. We have some wet wipes and a clicker. That's pretty much what we did on the first day. It was really crazy, just a lot of information getting thrown at us at one time. So we had a campfire, we kind of talked about our highs and lows of the day, and then we sat for a while and we were all exhausted, so we just went to bed pretty quickly that night. Then on Sunday, there's a lot more information getting thrown at us. That was just what we did all 3 days, was just information, and then during our breaks, we did stuff with the dogs. So we did some hands-on stuff. We went to Target, had our first public outing as new interns in the program. It was just very empowering being able to realize like, oh, we can do this, we got this, like it's not as scary as we thought. There were a couple little things that frustrated me. The first one is there were so many people who like didn't think we'd realize or something when they just like ran their hand over our dog, or like, puppy, and like reach out and have them sniff it, or the whole like making kissing noises, but then be like, I know I'm not supposed to touch them, so they just sit there and like are in their face, but they're not actually touching them. I was with Chester for the first little while. Chester is probably my favorite of the 4. We're not supposed to have favorites because we're supposed to be able to work with each dog, but I love Chester. He does have one little quirk, and that's that he's terrified of hard floors. So the reflection, the slipperiness, they kind of throw him off a little bit. He'll walk on them and then he'll realize he's walking on them and he just like freezes up. So we were in Target. It went really well for a while. He like kind of stopped and got a little confused by the mannequins for a little bit. But then after that, he did just fine. Just gave him treats and lots of praise for walking past the mannequins. I let him sniff them and we went on our merry way. And then we went to the other side of the store where the grocery section was. And this floor was a different color and texture than the floor we were on before that. There were people all over with carts and just like whatever, and he just stopped in the middle of this busy kind of intersection. And I was like, oh no, but you know, that's what happens. They are in training, so they're gonna have little issues every once in a while. I had him sit, I had him do a touch, which is where they just like poke your hand with their nose, and then he kind of forgot that he was on the scary floor and we were able to move on. So I just kind of redirected his attention and tried to get him to keep going, and then we walked along a little bit more. Each handler had one little story about Chester and his floor, which is okay, and he just needs to work through that. He's having a little bit of a fear thing. And then after that I worked with Charlie, which is Chester's brother. I worked with him for the other half of the time we were at Target because we switched dogs halfway through. And then we switched dogs again, and I got to work with Tori, who is like their demo dog. She's finished with her training, she's gone to Mongolia, knows all of the stuff that service dogs usually know. So it was really fun working with her and being able to see kind of the finished product of what we're aiming for. And it was just really, really cool being able to work with her and then go back to working with one of the teenagers who's still learning. The paw pads people were walking around and they'd just like stop us and be like, hey, you're not allowed to have dogs in here. And then we'd have to say like, yeah, actually we can. Basically, like they were just trying to get us to know our rights and know what we should say if we were presented with a situation like that. And after Target, we went to Pizza Ranch for dinner, which was a whole new thing because there was the food, there was all sorts of distractions, people, just a new environment that they had never been in before. They had been in the Target before, but they had never been in Pizza Ranch before. So that was really cool seeing them go in a place they'd never been before. And then with the added distraction of food, they all did really, really well. I was very surprised. And then at Pizza Ranch, we met up with the older students, the students from last year who had been a part of Adept, and we got to talk to them, got to hear some of their stories. And then after dinner, we headed back and we met up with Kayvon and Tahoe. Tahoe is one of our placed dogs. He's placed with a little boy named Kayvon. Their story is amazing. The bond they have, you could see it just being with them. So we heard a little bit of Kayvon's story. He's going into middle school now, and we got to hear about some of the ways that Tahoe has helped him, seeing again, one of those situations like where the dogs are going to end up, hopefully. Just realizing that what we're doing has a cause. Every minute I put in with the dogs is volunteer. I'm not getting paid for it. So my reward is knowing that the things we're doing now will hopefully help someone improve their quality of life, their independence. There's a lot of stuff that some people would not be able to do without the help of a service dog, and it made me even more happy to be a part of the family. After that, we just kind of all went to bed feeling happy and kind of this warm, fuzzy feeling. And our last day was Monday. We got up, we spent the morning lecturing, finishing up all the stuff we needed to touch on. We spent a lot of the day talking about laws. After that, we played a little water game and we used the dogs. So we had the 4 teens, and then the 6 of us were split up into 2 teams. So there were 3 on each team, and then we'd each like swap off dogs. So the game is you start on one end and you have like the leash looped around your wrist. It's a really short leash, 2 feet maybe, and we had to hold a cup full of water, and we had to walk down, loose leash walking down to the other end, dump it into the water bottle, and then walk back. It's really cool working with the dogs in a kind of game like that. Our team did not win, unfortunately. It was a good experience nonetheless. And then after that, we did our second day of public outings. We went to the mall, which was another great experience because there were so many people around and there were so many different stores that we could go around to. So we ate lunch at the food court. I had Tori again for that section. While we were walking around the mall, I had Charlie. One of his little quirks is pulling, so we're working on the loose leash walking, and by the end of the day, he had gotten quite a bit better at it. We kind of did some swervy games where he had to really pay attention to where I was going and kind of stay with me. And then I of course was rewarding him for any loose leash walking he was doing. So he kind of got that after a while. So I'll insert a clip here. Ja! Good boy, Charlie. I had a lot of people coming up to me or like yelling across the mall. So we had one guy who was like, "How's the training going?" And I was like, "Good, it's going really well." And then he was asking about the program, so I was talking to him about that. And then there was one lady who was like, "Are these search and rescue dogs?" And I was like, "No, they're training to be service dogs." And then I had one guy that was literally following me around the mall for 10 minutes. And I was just really creeped out for a little while. I was like, okay. So then I kind of like switched directions and cut across the mall, and he kept following me. So we like turned around and I was like, hello. And then at the very end of the day, we decided to take the pups on their first elevator ride. It was just important to remember that elevators are normal for us, but to these new dogs, they are not normal at all. But it's something that they definitely need to get used to before they can be placed. The doors, they close. That's a scary sound. When it starts moving, that's scary. When it stops moving, that's scary. It was a glass elevator too, so they could look out the window and they were like watching as we were going down. Most of them did really, really well. Chester was terrified of the elevator, so we had to work really hard on luring him in. We had someone holding the door, and then we kind of got him to go in. We went up and down, and then he got out and he handled it. And then I had Charlie, and Charlie was just totally engrossed. He was just like watching as we were going down and back up, and then he was sitting and looking at me like, oh, do I get a treat now? So that was super fun. It was cool being able to walk through something that they had never done before. It was also really funny watching them watch people on the escalators, because the people are just like disappearing. Imagine that from a dog's perspective. You're just like watching and there's just like a floating body and then they just disappear. That was it. We headed out from the mall. We took a group picture. If you are interested in seeing more of our adventures, be sure to check out my Instagram. I have one that's purely animals. It's called This Possum Life. And you can also check out mine. I'll leave those both linked in the description below. I was really impressed with them and how far along they already are. They know sit, down, touch, heel, kind of, side, which is walking on the right side, shake. They're not like super proficient at, but they're definitely getting pretty good. So I'm excited to see them all grow over the course of the next year. Hey, please like this video if you enjoyed it. Comment below if you have any questions regarding service dogs or anything else. And also subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you get notified whenever I post a new video. I'll see you next time. Bye!